Good morning or good afternoon, football fans. Big Al here on this Sunday, December 15th, 2024, and welcome to the Week 15 injury report. The inactives and inactives from across the league were announced about 40 minutes ago, and here's the updated injury report going into today's action and for Monday Night Football, both games, with the Bears and Vikings and the Falcons and Raiders. But we're going to start with the early games here on this Sunday with the New York Jets at the Jacksonville Jaguars in a game with no playoff implications for either team. Got a lot of injuries for the Jets, so we'll start right there. Tight end Tyler Conklin is questionable for a personal matter. Cornerback Brian Echols is out with a shoulder. Running back Breece Hall is questionable with a knee. Looks like he's going to play. Tackle Morgan Moses is questionable with a wrist. Guard Xavier Newman-Johnson is doubtful with a groin. Running back Kene Nwangwu. Running back Kene Nwangwu is out today with a hand. Cornerback DJ Reed is questionable, or rather doubtful, with a groin. And guard Elijah Vera Tucker is questionable with an ankle. Only one injury to talk about for the Jaguars, and that's tight end Evan Ingram. He's out today. They did not list his injury, though. On to the Commanders at the Saints. We'll start with Washington. Wide receiver Noah Brown is out with a kidney. Wide receiver Jamison Crowder is questionable with a calf. Kicker Zane Gonzalez is questionable with a left foot. And defensive tackle Daron Payne is also questionable with a back. And for the Saints, quarterback Derek Carr is doubtful with a left hand and a concussion. Linebacker DeMarco Jackson is out with an ankle. Defensive end Tanoa Kpassagnon, since I can't say his last name. He's questionable with an Achilles. And wide receiver Bub Means is out with an ankle. Bengals at the Titans. For Cincinnati, linebacker Joe Bachie is out with a groin. Tackle Orlando Brown is also out with a fibula. Guard Cody Ford is questionable with an illness. Wide receiver Charlie Jones is questionable with a groin. Defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins out today with an illness. And only 4 names mentioned for the Tennessee Titans, and they're all listed as questionable. Tackle Jalen Duncan with a hamstring. Quarterback Roger McCreary with a shoulder. And both running back Tony Pollard and linebacker Otis Reese, each with ankle injuries. They are all listed as questionable. Dolphins at the Texans. For Miami, tackle Teron Armstead, doubtful today with a knee. This is a big one for them. Linebacker Bradley Chubb, another big name. He's questionable with a knee. Wide receiver Grant Dubois is questionable with a shoulder. Wide receiver D. Eskridge is out with a knee. Long snapper Blake Ferguson, questionable with an illness. Linebacker Cameron Good is questionable with a knee. And tackle Kendall Lamb, he's questionable with a back problem. And for Houston, guard Nick Broker is questionable with a hand. Guard Kenyon Green is questionable with a shoulder. Linebacker Christian Harris with a calf. And linebacker Jamal Hill with a knee are both questionable. Center Juice Scruggs is out with a foot. And tight end Cade Stover listed as questionable with an illness, but he underwent an emergency appendectomy last night, so he will not go today against the Dolphins. Chiefs at the Browns. We'll start with Kansas City. Wide receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown is out with a shoulder. Kicker Harrison Butker is questionable with a left knee. And tackle DJ Humphries, who made his Chiefs debut last week and didn't look all that good, he's doubtful today with a hamstring. For Cleveland, guard Joe Bitonio is questionable with a back. Defensive tackle Mike Hall Jr. questionable with a knee. Cornerback Miles Harden is questionable with a tibia. Linebacker Khalil Key Hudson is questionable with an abdomen. Tight end David Njoku is listed as questionable with a hamstring, but it looks like he will not play today. And we won't see wide receiver Cedric Tillman. He's out with a concussion. Ravens at the Giants. For Baltimore, linebacker Adiza Isaac is questionable with a hamstring. Same for safety Sanasi Kane. He's also questionable with a hamstring. Defensive tackle Michael Pierce is questionable with a calf. Cornerback TJ Tampa is questionable with an ankle. And safety Ardarius Washington is questionable due to a personal matter. And for the Giants, cornerback Deonte Banks is questionable with a rib. Cornerback Cordell Flott doubtful with a quad. Tackle Chris Hubbard is questionable with a knee. Linebacker Deontay Johnson is questionable with an ankle. Quarterback Drew Lock is doubtful with a heel and a left elbow. Alright. Safety Austin Schottman is questionable with a fibula. And the remaining 4 players, defensive tackle Raheem Nunez Roches with a neck and a shoulder. Linebacker Bobby Okereke with a back. Cornerback Andrew Phillips with a shoulder. And guard John Runyon with an ankle are all out today against the Ravens. Cowboys and Panthers will begin with the Dallas Cowboys. Center Cooper Beebe is out with a concussion. Cornerback Trayvon Diggs is questionable with a knee. Cornerback CJ Goodwin is also questionable with a hamstring. Linebacker Buddy Johnson is questionable with an illness. Linebacker Eric Kendricks is questionable with a shoulder, but he may not play because of a personal matter. We shall see. Cornerback Jordan Lewis is questionable with a hamstring. Meanwhile, linebacker DeMarvion Overshown and safety Wanye Thomas both out with knee injuries, and I think Overshown is out for the season. And for the Carolina Panthers, running back Raheem Blackshear is questionable with a chest. Linebacker Jadeveon Clowney is questionable with a knee. Cornerback J.C. Horn is questionable with a groin. Linebacker Josie Jewell is questionable with a hamstring. Safety Nick Scott is also questionable with a hamstring. And linebacker Trevin Wallace is out today with a shoulder. Now to the late games, beginning with the Buccaneers at the Chargers. For Tampa, you have linebacker KJ Britt out with an ankle. Safety Mike Edwards out with a hamstring. Cornerback Josh Hayes questionable with a hamstring. Running back Bucky Irving questionable with a back and a hip, but it looks like he'll play this afternoon. Safety Christian Eisen questionable with a groin. Wide receiver Cameron Johnson out with an ankle. Linebacker J.J. Russell questionable with a hamstring. Wide receiver Sterling Shepard is questionable with a foot. Linebacker Joy Tryon Shayonka is questionable with an ankle. And meanwhile, linebacker Marquise Watts and safety Antoine Winfield Jr. are both out today with knee injuries. And for the LA Chargers, Tight end Will Dissly is out today with a shoulder. Wide receiver Ladd McConkey is questionable with a knee and a shoulder. We may know more about his status a little later on this afternoon towards game time. Linebacker Denzel Perryman is questionable with a groin. And wide receiver Jalen Reagor is out with a finger. Up next, the Battle of PA. It's the Steelers at the Eagles, and we'll begin with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Defensive tackle Montravius Adams is questionable with a knee. Tackle Calvin Anderson is questionable with a groin. Safety Deshaun Elliott is out with a hamstring. Defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi is out with a groin. This is a big one for them. Wide receiver George Pickens, he's out with a hamstring. And only a couple names listed for Philadelphia. Wide receiver Britton Covey, also our team's kick return specialist, he's out with a neck. And wide receiver Johnny Wilson is questionable with an illness. But for the most part, it looks like the Eagles go into this game relatively healthy. Bills at the Lions. Big Super Bowl preview in Detroit this afternoon. We'll start with Buffalo. Cornerback Rasul Douglas is out with a knee. The rest of the players on the Bills injury report are questionable, including tackle Tylen Grable with a groin, safety Damar Hamlin with a back and ribs, tight end Dalton Kincaid with a knee, tight end Quentin Morris with a shoulder and a groin, safety Taylor Rapp with a knee and a shoulder, defensive end Dewan Smoot with a wrist, linebacker Peyton Spector with a calf, and defensive end Casey Toohill with ribs. All those players are listed as questionable. Only one player listed for the Lions, and that's linebacker Trevor Nowosky. He's out today with a concussion. Patriots at the Cardinals. We'll start with New England. Wide receiver Javon Baker is out with a concussion. Defensive tackle Christian Barmore is questionable. Non-injury related. Safety Kyle Duggar is questionable with an ankle. Cornerback Christian Gonzalez is questionable with a shoulder. Tackle Vidarian Lowe is questionable with a shoulder as well. Defensive tackle Jacqueline Roy is out with a foot. Guard Cole Strange is questionable with a knee. And tackle Caden Wallace is out today with an ankle. And for the Cardinals, running back Amari DiMarcado with a back. Punter Blake Gilligan with a right foot. And cornerback Elijah Jones with an ankle are all listed as out. Meanwhile, defensive tackle Naquan Jones is questionable with a shoulder, and defensive tackle Roy Lopez is questionable with an ankle. Next, the Colts at the Broncos. For Indy, tight end Mo Alley Cox is questionable with a hip. Linebacker Jalen Carles is questionable with a fibula and a shoulder. Wide receiver Josh Downs is questionable with a shoulder. Wide receiver Ashton Dulin is out with an ankle. Center Ryan Kelly is questionable with a knee. Defensive end Tyquan Lewis is questionable with a rib. And tackle Braden Smith is out for a personal matter. And only one name to talk about for the Broncos, and that's cornerback Riley Moss. He's out with a knee. Packers at the Seahawks later tonight. We'll start with Green Bay. Cornerback Jair Alexander out once again with a knee injury. Cornerback Corey Ballentine questionable with the same knee injury. Safety Javon Bullard is out with an ankle. And tight end Luke Musgrave is also out with an ankle. For Seattle, cornerback Trey Brown is out with a hamstring. Cornerback Artie Burns is doubtful with a toe. Tackle Stone Forsythe is doubtful with a hand. I almost said out, but he's doubtful. Running back Kenneth Walker III, doubtful tonight with a calf. And then the remaining players, safety Jarek Reed II with a quadricep, tight end Brady Russell with a foot, and safety Kevon Wallace with an ankle are all out tonight against the Packers. Alright, now we got the Monday Night Football doubleheader. We'll begin with the Bears at the Vikings. For Chicago, guard Ryan Bates with a concussion, defensive tackle Javon Dexter Sr. with a knee, and running back Roschon Johnson with a concussion are all out. And running back DeAndre Swift is questionable with a groin. Only one name for Minnesota, and that's cornerback Stephon Gilmore. He's questionable with a hamstring. And then the week wraps up with the Falcons at the Raiders. We'll start with Atlanta, and they're pretty much healthy outside of, say, 3 players. Linebacker Troy Anderson is out with a knee. Defensive end Ruke Orhorhoro is questionable with an ankle. And wide receiver Casey Washington is out with a concussion. For Vegas, defensive tackle Adam Butler is questionable with a concussion. Defensive end Max Crosby is out with an ankle. He's going to be lost for the rest of the season and will undergo surgery to repair that ankle. Quarterback Aiden O'Connell, questionable with a knee. And cornerback Sam Webb is doubtful with a back. So if O'Connell doesn't go, former Falcon Desmond Ridder will get the start tomorrow night against his old team. And that is a look at the Week 15 injury report as we sit 30 minutes away from kickoff. I'll be back tomorrow with a look at the college football bowl schedule and the announcers for every single bowl game here in 2024. That's coming up tomorrow. And make sure to join me on Tuesday for my Week 15 recap on the week that was, where we'll be taking a look at the team and player statistical numbers from all 16 games this week, plus my Week 16 power rankings, the updated NFL playoff picture, and clinching and elimination scenarios from across the league going into Week 16. All that coming up on Tuesday, so join me for that. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out.